Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Hopefully that sound is working. Yep, all good, all lovely. There's so many people on this morning. So excited. Well, welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. This is where you can learn about cheese making at home and ask your questions, your burning questions about cheese making. Now, I don't profess to be a professional cheesemaker. Well, I suppose I'm getting paid by YouTube, so it's a profession of sorts. But I don't have a commercial operation or anything like that. I just make cheese at home, just like you do. Fortunately, due to doing it for many, many years, I've gained a little bit of knowledge. So hopefully I can answer your questions as we go along today. Shout out to all my YouTube members and all of my patrons. Thank you very much for your financial support. No new ones this week, but it's only been like 3 days since the last live stream. So, don't get my hopes up like that all the time. I'm only a small channel. But thank you very much for supporting us financially. And you can see the YouTube members in the chat. You'll see their names in green with a little cheesy icon next to their name, which is very cool. Now, we've got lots of people in the chat. I'll call you out in a second. However, there is just going through what videos are going to be released soon, cheese making ones. So we're going to do the Long Life Bloomy Rind, which I've renamed from Stabilised Paste Washed Curd Bloomy Rind, which is a bit of a mouthful. That's still still maturing in my kitchen fridge, all wrapped up in its little cheese wrap. So that's really cool, and doesn't smell very ammonia-ish, which is good. Starting to get a little bit soft in the middle, so I might test one today and do that on video. We'll see how that goes. I'm also going to make some vegan cheese. I'm going to try and make some vegan halloumi, which is weird, but we'll see what that tastes like. I'm using the let's see if we get the direction right. There we go, over there. See the vegan cheese kit I've got there? It's made by Mad Millie. It's got some goodies in there, some vegan yeast and a whole bunch of other stuff that apparently binds your cheese together. Hope it doesn't bind me up too much. And I'm also going to try and make a vegan camembert. So I've got some camembert recipe. I've got vegan cultures, which is cool. So I'm going to make a vegan camembert. And I don't know if many people remember. I've been making some mead, and mead is honey wine, and I've got that fermenting in the kitchen. It's sitting in the kitchen doing its thing. It's been going since the 5th of May. And so I'm going to rack that today, which means transfer it from the primary fermenting bottle into the secondary fermenting bottle. And I'm going to film that as well to add on to the mead video, which seems to be growing massively. Hasn't been released yet, obviously, because it hasn't finished fermenting. So I'm going to put that into secondary fermentation to clear up a bit, because it's a little bit cloudy still. Just a little bit, so we'll film that and see what happens. So that'll be cool too. All right, some shout-outs, of course, always. First cab off the rank was Adin Rose. Thank you very much. G'day, mate. Patricia, g'day, Patricia. We'll get to your questions about iodine in a second. Lice Dog, Dwayne, Larry, Deep South, Texas. We've got Bonnie. G'day, Bonnie. We've got Aga. G'day, mate. Craig, g'day, Craig. How are you? Rocky, from sunny Florida. We've got John, g'day John, great to see you. And Kangoo, I think that's how you say it. Or was that, all right, sorry. Here is Ganya Lyons, g'day Ganya. Hope, g'day Hope. Who else we got there? Nemod, Zami, and Kevin, fantastic. Yeah, so all good. Great to see you on. And it says in the little counter, we've got 33 people watching. Absolutely fantastic. So don't forget to ask your questions in the chat. and we'll get stuck right into it. So the first question off the top, as Patricia says how does iodized salt affect cheese making? Good question, and I do bang on quite a bit about using non-iodized salt, and the reason being is iodine tends to kill your starter bacteria. So any bacteria and sometimes molds that are in your cheese will get killed off by iodine. So it's best not to put iodized salt into your cheese. So yeah, it inhibits the bacterial action. So any bacteria that's still alive and doing its stuff within your cheese will get killed off, and you'll probably end up with a fairly bitter and sour cheese because actually no, you won't. It'll I'm just trying to think. The bacteria dies, your cheese will go rancid basically. So yeah, it's a bit ordinary. So don't use iodized salt in your cheese. Okay, the next question, or more of a statement, is from Lice Dog saying, I'm making your crescenza recipe at the moment and I'm about to set the smoker to smoke my cheddar. It's fantastic. Oh, that's one thing I'm doing this weekend too, is smoking some cheese. God, I've got so many things to do. Um, and I'll be doing them all today and squeezing them in. I hope your my camera batteries are charged. That'll be interesting. Better check that out. Now, Bonnie says, hi, I'm making brick cheese. 1 week into it, I have to wipe it down every day because the molds are rampant. They are different, all different colours. Is that normal? Sometimes to start with, it is a little bit, but yes, you do have to wipe it every day. And if you find that other molds are trying to take over, Bonnie, it's probably best to do a Brevibacterial linens wash. So get about, let me think, about a 16th of a teaspoon of Brevibacterial linens, the powder, and add it to half a cup of simple brine. So that's to make a simple brine. So 1 cup of boiled water, add in 2 teaspoons of salt, stir that till it's all dissolved, and then add in the Brevibacterial linens, and then let that sit overnight. And then basically what you do is then use that as the primary wash for that day, and that introduces more bacteria to the outside of the cheese, more good beneficial bacteria, the Brevibacterial linens. That's what you're after, right? And that'll stifle all the other molds. So if you find that the other molds are starting to come back, do that a couple times a month. So maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe once a week. It's up to you to determine that. You'll have to figure it out for yourself. If the other molds are trying to take back over, then definitely reintroduce the Brevibacterial linens back onto the surface of the cheese. Now make sure that your ripening box that you've got your brick cheese in is fairly moist. So you've got to have a fairly high humidity to make brick cheese. It's all that humidity that it create that the Brevibacterial linens loves. And the good thing is, because you're washing with a simple brine solution, the other molds don't really like the salt, and Brevibacterial linens does. It tolerates salt a lot better than what the other bacteria do. I hope that answers your question. Aga says, my favourite YouTuber, and I'm minced. It's what? Oh, gee, 12:30 in the morning, and he's just starting. That's absolutely fantastic. I know you're. I think you're in Spain, mate. But yeah, hopefully when it's our summertime and your winter time, the clocks change in your favour, and it'll be like 10 p.m. when the show starts. So sorry about all the English types and Europeans. It's not very conducive to you guys watching, unfortunately. Okay, so Rocky asked a question, a very good leading question, actually. He says, question, of all the persons who join your live streams, what seems... Oh, just got to see our monthly takings for the month in the background there. What, of all the persons who join your live streams, what country seems to be number one in attendance? Well, I think mainly Australia and the US Rocky, if answering your question, and that's because, because of the time zones, the way it is at the moment. Like I just mentioned, that Europe and the UK, the bulk of those people don't get to watch it because it is so late or so early in the morning. So it's 1 o'clock I think it's European time, and UK time it's 1:30. What time is it now? 8:40. Um, so anyway, so it's like 1:40 in the morning for Europe and 12:40 a.m. for England. Anyhow, moving right along. Um, John says, "Hey, Cheeseman, San Francisco online, hot and windy today on the west coast. Yeah, it's starting to get like our summers, mate." Okay. I'm hoping Kim's on. Have I seen her yet? Oh, there she is. Good morning at 8:30. Thanks, Kim. That's lovely. You turning up. Thank you for being my moderator, of course. Dog says, "Can I use all the curd of the Crescenza in one mould, or is it better to use two?" If you can fit it all in one, mate, do that. That's absolutely fantastic. Um, if you can't, then just use the two and then put them together, and nobody will know the difference. You won't either. I couldn't even see the line in mine when I cut it. But yeah, if it doesn't fit, just put a little bit in the other one, and then make them go together. There we go. Make them go together. It's all good. Where are we up to? Hope says, once you cut open a cheese, how long is the average time before the cheese expires, if it does expire? Well, it doesn't really expire. I've got cheeses sitting in my kitchen fridge that are vacuum packed, and they've been there for some of them nearly 2 years, and they're fine. So it doesn't expire. Cheese doesn't expire. It just gets better. It's like when you get older, you get better and wiser. It's just like cheese, I suppose, and a good wine. Yeah. So no, it doesn't expire. Having said that, the fresh cheeses obviously do, and you've got to eat them within a couple of weeks usually. They don't last very long before they start getting mold on them because they're so moist, and moisture has mold in it. But the semi-hard and hard cheeses last a very long time. Agus says, "Time for bed. May your questions be answered and all your cheeses get made." Thanks, mate. Dwayne says, "It sounds good." Thanks, mate. I'm only 1 minute past. Where are we up to? Kevin says, "What is the title of the stabilised paste camembert? I can't find it." That's because it hasn't been released yet. I have been very busy this week with the shop, and I haven't got around to editing the video. But that's my primary job today, as well as all these other videos that I'm making. Some may move to tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. It will be released this weekend, Kevin. So, yeah, cool. Lol Wall says, "You need more subs." I don't know about that. If you want a sub, that's great. But I'm very happy with what I've got. I'm always happy with what I've got. What's that? Laura Vomes says, "Shout out for my 7-year-old daughter Lily, who is watching me." Hello, Lily. How are you? Lovely to see you. Now I did have a shout out request. I've got to remember what the person's name is, and hopefully I get this. Just somewhere here. It's in my cheesy emails. Where are my cheesy emails? Sorry about this. Rightio. So I've got a request from a young lady called Laura. I'll just read that out. And let's read that out. Where are we? Here we are. Laura asks, she says, "My boyfriend is a massive fan of yours and has learnt so much about his cheese making from your videos. With his birthday coming up on the 13th of August, I was wondering if it would be at all possible for you to do a video shout-out birthday message to him. His name is Tom. I understand may not be something you do, but however, I thought it wouldn't hurt to ask." Well, yes, I don't do this very often, but happy birthday, Tom. may all your cheeses ripen successfully, and may the mould stay at bay. So there you go. There's my birthday message for Tom from Laura. Okay. Alrighty. Zammy says, can you freeze most cheeses? Yeah, the harder cheeses are better to freeze. The fresh ones tend to split, and the fats split out from the rest of the milk solids. So fresh cheese is not so good. Mozzarella is a bit of an exception. You can freeze that. But it's the harder cheeses you can freeze if you really want to. They tend to mature better in the fridge once they've finished in the cheese cave, which is where I tend to leave them. I don't freeze my cheese at all. So I hope that answers your question, Sammy. My YouTube says, good morning from Australia. Well, g'day, how are you? I discovered your channel yesterday. Happy to find it. Thank you very much. Kim's banning people, which is good. That's Kim's job. Well done, darling. Brad says, g'day, Brad. Hi, Gavin. Question. In comparison to store-bought Aussie cheese, when making homemade basic cheddar, what is the aging time for mild, tasty, and vintage? Okay. So this is a basic rule of thumb. So 6 months for a mold, I would say, actually a mild, no, it'd be 3 months. So 3 to 4 months, and it's just tasting like cheddar, and the bitterness may have gone away from the proteolysis. Tasty, I would say between 6 and 8 months, and then vintage 12 months plus. So that's the basic ages there. Justin says, do you know of any cheeses that are blue and have eyes, gas bubbles? No, I don't. However, there is some blue cheeses, or manufacturers anyway, add in a yeast into blue cheeses so that they do form holes within the cheese. So they form fissures within the cheese. And that actually creates really good veining. So that's some eyes of sort, but they're not actually round. They'll be just cracks throughout the cheese. And there is a special cheese making yeast, which I can't remember the name of, but it's not available in our shop, but I have seen it around. Okay, Augustine says, what is the difference between Penicillium candidum and Geotrichum candidum when it comes to cheese making? Okay. So the primary difference, they're both penicillin. So they're both, no, one's penicillin, one's the other. One's just a mold. And they are both used on Camembert style sort of cheeses. The Penicillium candidum actually ripens the cheese and turns the paste from a solid to a liquid if you leave it long enough and goes runny. It does a thing called proteolysis. Proteolysis changes the proteins to a different structure and makes them runny in different flavours. Geotrichum candidum is basically a rind. It prepares the rind of the cheese and raises the pH of the rind, so it takes it up closer to 7, a pH of 7, and that makes it favourable for the Penicillium candidum to grow. It's also used sometimes when you are making a cheese with Brevibacterial linen, so a washed rind cheese. It prepares the surface. You'll see a little bit of a white bloom, but it makes the surface better for Brevibacterial linens, the red mold, to grow as well. So Geotrichum candidum won't ripen your cheese from outside in particularly well without the addition of Penicillium candidum. So hopefully that explains a little bit about the differences between the two. And you definitely use more Penicillium candidum and less Geotrichum in your cheeses. Okay, Kevin says, have some Monarto, but I have to put up to 15 drops in 10 litres of milk and the cheese is still white. What's up with that? Good question. Have you shaken the bottle? Maybe it settled to the bottom a little bit, maybe, Kevin. So, not sure. But it's very difficult to see the colour of the milk changing because sometimes it's not until after you've cut the curd that you actually see the colour come through. But 15 drops seems like a fair amount. I know that for the Shropshire Blue, I think I used about 42 drops or something to get it that really orangey colour. But normal cheddar, I think I add about between 6 and 10 drops, and it seems to turn out all right. A little bit yellow, it's okay. But yeah, that hope that helps, Kevin. Seven Hunter says, "Hi Gavin, have you ever used Star Sand for sterilising? It doesn't kill yeast, but I'm not sure about cultures. Star Sands used is a sanitizer used in brewing. I haven't used it. We don't have it as a well. We do have it as a brand over here. It's in home brew shops. But usually the sterilizer for cheese making uh, is Iodophor. Now, Iodophor is used in the dairy industry because it doesn't leave a residue and doesn't leave a smell. Um, it's a blackish sort of liquid that you dilute in water, and you can soak all your stuff in it if you want to. Some people prefer to use chlorine, not chlorine. What's it called? Bleach. You can use bleach as well. That works quite well. Um, and I tend to boil all of my stainless steel stuff, including, say, things like cheese mats, the bamboo cheese mats, um, and cheesecloth, all that sort of stuff. So I sterilize it all through boiling for 15 minutes. And all the other stuff, I spray, the plastic stuff, I spray with white vinegar, the normal household strength vinegar. Just spray that all over everything and then just let it dry off by itself. And that kills most of the molds and any bacteria that are usually present on the surface of those sorts of things. Obviously, they've been washed in the dishwasher first at a fairly high temperature, one that doesn't make them melt like boiling would. So the plastic stuff's a bit harder to clean. William says, hello. Hello, William. Greg says, good morning, Gavin. I made a brie that ended up about twice as thick as a normal brie. Ooh. I'm not sure that the extra thickness slows down aging by candidum, but will it take longer to age than a normal brie? Yeah, so a normal brie is usually about so about an inch and a half. Is that an inch and a half? Yeah, that'll do. An inch and a half thick, which is so 2.5. So that's 3.5 centimeters. It's 4 centimeters roughly. So and that ages within 6 weeks, I think. But yeah, if the thickness is twice as much, the Penicillium candidum will take longer to ripen all the way into the middle. So you may, if you crack it open at 6 weeks, have a line of just solid paste through the middle, and the rest will be a little bit runny. So you may have to age it a little bit longer. Definitely the extra thickness would do that as well. Okay. Alice says, good question, 700. I make wine and use Star Sand in the sanitization of everything. Look, don't give it a try. If you don't get any bad issues with your Star Sand and any off tastes, then you could try it. I haven't heard of it being used in cheese making. I know brewing. I use a similar sort of sanitizer for my brewing stuff. Okay, Thief 9001 says, bit of a random one. Says, not really related to cheese making in particular, but do you watch Bon Appetit's It's Alive? How do you feel about that kind of fermentation content? I don't watch it. Is it on Netflix? Don't know. I have not seen it, sorry to say, but I can check it out. What's it called? It's Alive. I'll have a look. Okay. Duff Dude 88 says, the cheese harps you sent me work amazing. Thanks again. Did I send you some cheese harps? Oh, okay. Must have been one of the prize winners, maybe, from the thing. Okay, cool. Dwayne says it's 4:41 p.m. in Alberta, Canada. That's a good time to be watching the Cheeseman, I reckon. Jonathan says, I love cheese. Well done. So do I. Raphael says, hello, Gavin. Do you know the cheese from Mexico? Indeed, I do, Raphael. I have made queso Chihuahua, queso Oaxaca. There's another one. Asiago. I think that might be Mexican as well. There's 3 I think I've made. There might be more. Go through the back catalogue of all the videos and see. There's quite a few Mexican cheeses there. John says, "Wow, Star San is a phosphoric acid versus a chlorine bleach or superperoxide. Um, we have the latter as many OxyClean or bartender's friend, a more friendly oxidizer sanitizer than bleach or phosphorus." Okay, that's good information. Thank you, John. Dwayne says, "Have you ever made Bulgarian cheese such as their style of feta?" No, I haven't, and it's very strong. I have tasted it before, but I haven't made it personally. Daniel says, "Good night and good day and good night. Love the channel. Going to bed night. Good night. Going to bed now. Good night." John says, "If you have a chance with a health food store, they can get an industrial hydrogen peroxide, liquid 40%, and that will clean and sanitize anything." Yeah, it will. It kills most yeast, bacteria, and molds. It's very strong stuff, though. Wear gloves when you're using it. Zaid says, "Gavin, do we add the cream after or before pasteurization of the milk?" Do we add the cream after or before pasteurization of the milk? I'm not sure what you're on about there, Zaid. If you can explain a little bit more. It depends on what the cheese you're talking about as well. So expand a little bit more on that, and I'll be able to answer it. Jonathan says, "I made fresh cheese with only white vinegar and salt. Can I age that cheese?" No, you can't. Hang on, maybe. Let me think. So you've made a basic form of ricotta there, Jonathan, and what you can do is you can put it into a cheese mold, press it so a little bit more of the liquid comes out, a little bit more of the whey, and then you need to rub salt all over the outside of the cheese once it's pressed, and then you need to keep it in a ripening box at about 13 degrees Celsius, so the humidity is about 80%, and let that ripen for about 2 to 3 months, and then you'll have a very rudimentary cheese called a ricotta salata, which is a salty ricotta, basically, is what it stands for. And that's nice grated on pasta. I like it quite a lot. Okay. Vern says, "Hi, Kim and Gavin." G'day, Vern. John says, "Time to make blue Swiss or Jarlsberg for that person's question." Blue Jarlsberg. Yeah. We'll see. Craig says, "I think the yeast word you were trying to remember is Saccharomyces. I think that's how you say it. But yes, I think that rings a bell, Craig." Seed says, "Also, how can I make thermophilic culture like making mesophilic with buttermilk?" I also thought, why not for the thermophilic? Look, there is some rudimentary thermophilic culture in live yogurt. So if you've got live yogurt anywhere, then you can use some of that to use as a thermophilic starter culture. Also, if you've got kefir grains, kefir as it's fermenting in milk, also produces a thermophilic culture called Streptococcus thermophilus, which is one of the quite a few thermophilic starter cultures. It also produces a whole bunch of other stuff, but there is a thermophilic culture within it. John says, "If you use a small pressure cooker versus a big canning one, you can pressure steam your metals and fabrics to for don't do Fahrenheit. Up to 400 Fahrenheit, it'll take it down. It'll kill botulism and with less water." I got a pressure cooker. I don't know if I'd run it with all me. I don't think my stuff fit in it, but that's a good idea. A lot of dentists and stuff used to use pressure cooker sort of thing. I can't remember what it's called. Autoclave? No, maybe not. And they actually pressure steam cook all of their dentist utensils, so they reuse them all the time. Okay, Thief90001 says, "It's on YouTube. Bon Appetit is pretty good." Oh, okay. I'll check it out. Bon I'll go and check that channel out. Thank you very much, Thief. Han Solo says, Gavin Weber, how are you today? I love your channel, by the way. Thanks, mate. And you love cheese. That's excellent. Well, I think we're all cheese lovers here, or we wouldn't be here. Augustine says, have you ever thought of making gorgonzola? It's one of the more well-known blue cheeses, I believe. It depends on what country you come from. It's very subjective. But gorgonzola is a very nice cheese, and it has been on my to-do list for a while. I'm having trouble getting um, the blue mold strain that's particular to gorgonzola. It's not Penicillium roqueforti. It's a different strain, and I would have to research that, but I'm not going to put it up right now. But it is a different strain of blue mold culture. Blue mold, not a culture. And that's what makes gorgonzola taste different than roqueforti, or roquefort, sorry. Okay, the red pill says, if a cheese has mold, how do you know it's safe to eat? Usually, it is the smell of it which will put you off, and it's black mold. If you got black mold on your cheese, then discard it. I wouldn't eat it at all. And this is like black mold with whiskers. It's actually called black whiskers, cat's whiskers. Sorry. And it's actually a toxic. So that's the only mold that's not fair game as far as I'm concerned. If you're ripening your cheese and it's got mold on it, that's fine. That's what it does when you age your cheese. You'll find all sorts of funky molds on cheese when you ripen them. But most of the time, and you don't see this because the manufacturers don't show you, they scrape it all off and then package up your cheese and sell it to you. But yeah, so if it's got black mold on it, don't eat it. Anything else, it's probably introduced there on purpose. John's just probably searched my whole catalogue and come up with queso fresco, queso Oaxaca, and queso Chihuahua. So there you go. There's 3 Mexican cheese. XPFC Wintergreen, g'day mate. Love to Gavin, Kim, and all the curd nerds worldwide. Cheers, mate. And Patricia says, dentists use steam autoclaves. There you go. I do remember something from the dentist when I used to visit them. I do every 6 months. It's an autoclave. There you go. Yes, good. Epic Please says, hello, Gavin. And hello. Well, we've run out of questions. If you... Oh, there we go. There's another one. That's fantastic. We get to the end, but it's not the end, really. Okay. Zaid says, the only milk I can find in my country is a low-fat content, so I try to make it right by adding the cream. That's what I meant by adding it after or before pasteurization. So if the milk's low-fat, does that mean it's raw? Does that mean it's raw when you get it? So by pasteurizing, I hope you're not meaning boiling the milk, because if you're trying to boil the milk, then it denatures all the proteins and you can't set a curd. It won't set a curd at all, not using rennet anyway. But if it's already been pasteurized, you can add the cream anytime you like. So yeah, it's no big deal. So you just add the cream, but yeah, don't boil your milk, whatever you do. If you're doing home pasteurization, I think using a temperature of, I think it's 63 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, then that's fine. You can add the cream anytime you like. It's no big deal. Whatever you do, don't make sure that your milk is not ultra pasteurized or UHT, because you won't be able to set a curd with that either, Zaid. Lisa said, I made crescenza last weekend. Turned out great. Thanks for sharing the recipe. No problems at all. It was one of those ones I was a bit dubious to make, actually. I looked at the recipe. I thought, this is too simple to be, a cheese video. But I thought, no, people out there like simple cheeses as well as some of the complex ones that I do. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'll just go and do it. And it was great because it used yogurt as the thermophilic starter culture. And I thought it tasted quite nice. So yeah, great cheese. Very nice. Kevin says, buy a tiny bit of store-bought gorgonzola and try and use that as the mother culture. Kevin, you are a genius. I tell you. Um, use the blue mold from there. Yeah. It's actually a green. It's a green mold, and I think somebody, Rocky, came up and said the mold is Penicillium glaucum. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it is a different type of penicillium. So yeah, it's very cool. Alrighty. Um, very good. Thank you very much, fellas. I appreciate that. And Kevin, you're a genius. Why I say that all the time. Why didn't I think of that? Here I am saying I can't get some of it. So all I would do was actually spread a bit of that on, say, rye bread, and that'll grow the penicillium glaucum. Or might just add it straight to the milk. So add it to a bit of milk first, so it's all dissolved. The little bit of blue mold and whatever cheese is there too. Scrape out as much as I can, and then grow it a little bit in the milk at room temperature, and then add it to the milk. I'd probably only make a 4 litre batch. I didn't want it just in case it doesn't work, but yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Rocky. Darren says, "I love your channel from Florida." Very cool. Thank you very much, Darren. Red Pill says, "Where did I get that subscriber bar?" Well, and this is not sponsored content. Hang on. There's the box. That's what it's called. La Metric Time. It does more than just time. It does all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I actually balked at the price. It was, and you'll probably think I'm a fool for buying it. However, it cost me $300 Australian, and it's a clock. It does subscriptions, so not only does it do that, the YouTube subscriber count there, and you've probably seen it going down because it always goes down during the show, never goes up. But it goes up afterwards. But it also does, it keeps track of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram subscribers. It has radio stations as well. The speaker's not that good, but it's okay. I just play it in the background when I'm doing work in here. So you can have as many radio stations as you want. Usually most of them stream to the internet, so it just picks it up from that. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so that's how it gets all the data from it. Connects to your app on your phone, and yeah, all good. But it's growing on me. I don't know if I still. I think it's worth $300. I did a review. I got it on Amazon, by the way, Amazon Australia. I think they shipped it from the US because there was no Australian plug in the bloody thing. Thankfully, it works on USB, so I had a USB adapter that I plugged it into and plugged it into the wall socket. So that was a bit of a rip-off, but yeah, it's not worth $300 though. Anyway, we'll move on from there. Buyer's remorse. Can you hear it in my voice? Okay. Chris Burnett says, "Do I have any pets?" Of course we've got pets. Here we are, Pet Cam. There she is. Holly. Holly. Hello. Say hello to everybody. Woof. All right, so that's one of my pets, and I'm not going to grab the other one because he's grumpy. So that was Holly. She's one of my official cheese tasters. And Teddy, who's on the floor over here, West Highland Terrier, he likes cheese too. Okay, Monique says, "G'day, Monique. Lovely to see you on here. G'day." She says, "I've made some camemberts that are quite tall. Brined in an 18% solution, dusted them with ash and salt last week, and matured at 10 Celsius. Still mould, quite firm too. Will they work?" Ooh, I don't know if they'll turn into camemberts because you kind of need that small form. Now, and funny you mentioned that, Monique, because in the coming video that'll be released this weekend, the stabilised paste bloomy rind ones that I made, I also made some tall camemberts, and they were exceedingly tall. We're talking, they've only shrunk a little bit in the mould because it was a stabilised paste, and I hadn't thought of that at all, and it didn't shrink as much. So I actually had to cut them in half in the middle, and instead of having 2 camemberts, I ended up with 4, which is great with the amount of milk that I made. And they ripen fantastically. So white mold all over the cheeses, and they absolutely look fantastic. So and they're ripening well now in the kitchen fridge. So if you do get some tall ones that you're not too that you think, oh, a little bit too tall, cut them in half. Um, didn't didn't affect the ripening. The white mold just grew all over it, and there's no big deal. It didn't seem to care. Okay, so maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't think you'll get the runny paste in the middle, Monique, because of the tallness of the cheese. The Penicillium candidum won't have enough time during the 4 weeks to get all the way into the middle to do the proteolysis to change the paste. So yeah, but anyway, fantastic. Still no mold. I reckon. Oh, you got a little extra bit. All right. So because you haven't got any mold on them at the moment, maybe cut them in half. If you think they're too old, and then you'll get more cheese. It'd be fantastic. Okay. Rocky says, I made your baby blues with it. It was great. Oh, okay. Fantastic. So you did use the Penicillium glaucum. Nice. Very good. Very good. And you said it again. Lovely. Thank you. John says Gorgonzola is said to be Penicillium roqueforti. Then other places say it's multiple yeast inoculation, but the real flavour comes from the terroir of the cow's milk. Yeah, yeah, it does. But that's why it's a DOP cheese or AOP or whatever the AOC. So many different standards over there, and they have to. It probably has to come from a special province in Italy, and they have to use either raw milk. They probably use raw milk, and yeah, there's other things they have to use for it, and they can't use anything else, and that's why the flavour of gorgonzola is the same all the time. Good standards are good things. Devon says, thanks for your videos, Gavin. I occasionally buy imported cheese from the shop, but occasionally I get an extraordinary, funny smelling cheese. Are there any particular bad smells to watch for? Yeah, so I've come across similar cheeses where they've been sitting in the supermarket shelf for God knows how long, and they smell a lot. And it's when it smells rotten, if you can imagine that. If it smells like it's rotten, don't eat it. Obviously, it has gone rotten and it's been infected with all sorts of bad bacteria. If it smells a little bit like ammonia, that's not so bad because bloomy cheeses do off-gas ammonia during their maturation, so that's not such a bad thing. But yeah, if it smells rotten, then yeah, don't eat it. I've come across occasionally one or two cheeses like that that have been imported and they're just not good for you. Ryan says, can you do a cranberry brie or something like that? Well, I've got a Wensleydale with cranberries coming up. There'll be a taste test on that. Not too sure. Yeah, so that's unusual. I can't do anything. I've never seen cranberries in brie, so I don't get out much. Okay. Somebody talking in Arabic and I can't understand it, so sorry about that. Rocky says, I still can't be a patron. I've tried many times. Can I send you cash? US dollars, of course. Great job, Gavin. Yeah, indeed, Rocky. Anybody wants to send me money, I'm happy to do that. Have a look in the description just below the video. There's a please support the stream. There's a link there. It says streamlabs.com/Gavin Weber. And that'll do it via PayPal. And you can do a donation, one-off donation if you want. It's up to you, mate. That's fantastic, of course, if you do that. Dog says, when is the next podcast planned for? Everybody asks about the podcast. Yeah, well, it's all these videos that keep making me not have enough time to do podcasts. But yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But thanks for the prompt, Dog. Appreciate it. Mariana, I think that's how you say it. I live in the subtropics with no cheesecake, but my Leyden cheese aged in the crisper of my fridge and has been very successful. Yeah, the crisper tends to be a few degrees Celsius warmer than what the normal fridge at 4 degrees Celsius is, and that would work. Yeah, that's cool. Frobel says, OMG. Chris Burnett says she's a cutie. I hope you're talking about the dog and not me. But yeah, Holly's pretty cool. I love her. So does Kim. Um, Michael says, "Hi, Gavin. Lovely to see you. Thank you, Michael. I bought a good amount of cultures, meso and thermo, through the mail. They have been in my freezer for almost 2 years. Are they still good? Depends if they were opened and not put into something like that sterilized jar with a lid. It's nice and tight. Oops. If the cultures look gluggy and not in their powdery form still, then they won't be any good because they've been hydrated, they've been rehydrated, and they're no good. But if they're still in a powder form, maybe, yeah, I think so. I've seen cultures last, up to 4 to 5 years that I've kept in the freezer and I'm still using them, and they're still going strong. But all the manufacturers say that you should use them before their best before date. So, but it doesn't stop me using them. They seem to work all right. Okay. Patricia says, I love the cheesy t-shirt designs at Teesprings, but I think t-shirts are a bit blokey. Are the designs available on kitchen aprons? There is one design that's available on an apron, and that's at a different store called Cafe Press. Let me just grab the link for you there, Patricia, because I do have. You may have seen my Curd Nerd, um, my Curd Nerd apron that I have. Let me just pull up the merch from. Let's go to screen number 2, shall we? All right, so if we go to Cafe Press, I do have some designs over there as well. And there's some certified Curd Nerd shirts. And this one will come up. So there's a certified Curd Nerd apron that I have. Very reasonably priced. This is in Australian dollars. Be cheaper in the US. Um, I don't, these designs, I don't get very much of a commission. I get more commission on the Teespring ones. They don't have aprons yet. I wish they would. But these ones are very thick and they're really good. So it's a very good, it's a very good, let's go back to my main screen. It's a very good cloth, nice and thick, and they are very good. So I do like those ones indeed. So that's over at Cafe Press. I'll just get the link for you, Patricia, and I'll pop that in there. Let's see if that works. There we go. There we go. It does work. All right, so there you go, Patricia. If you want an apron with the Curd Nerd logo on it, then there you go. You can grab an apron. Okay. Hope that helps, Patricia. And I hope you grab an apron because they're very cool. I use mine when I'm cheese making now. All righty. Very cool indeed. Oh, we got a super chat. How come the light's not going? Oh, there we go. It did it. Jim Jackson donated $5 through super chat. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. You have a question? You do have a question. G'day, Gavin, Kim, and even Ben. Well, when Ben's out of bed, he's still quite sick still, so he's getting better. It is good to catch the bi-weekly gathering of the Curd Nerds to learn about the feel. What? To learn at the feel of the King Curd Nerd. Wink. I don't understand the feel, but yeah, very nice. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate your $5 super chat, mate. Okay. Where did I get up to? Patricia's question. Yep, we did that. Fantastic. Michelle says, in the United States of America, is there any other? One of my favourite cheeses is called Australian aged cheddar. Okay, sounds very very nondescript. Only available in the special cheese sections. Does Australia have a cheese region to speak, so to speak? No, not really. There are artisan cheesemakers all over Australia. Wherever you can get fresh milk, that's usually where you find them. There are, no, there's not really. So there's not cheese making regions per se, not like France and England. We don't have any AOC regulation cheeses over here. It's who knows? Who knows where the cheese comes from? Unless there's a company name on the back of the cheese, then I could probably pinpoint it down for you because I know quite a few of the companies that make cheese here in Australia, the artisan cheese making companies and the big manufacturers as well. So if you can find that, then I can dig it up for you and tell you kind of where it's from. But no, there's no cheese regions. It sounds like a very nondescript sort of cheddar. Greg says, does anybody have a recommendation for a good cheese for somebody wanting to try something new? I've made most well-known cheeses, and I'm open to trying to make something of a less-known cheese. I don't know. Try all. I thought some of the cheeses that I make are pretty out there, and I'd never heard of half of them. So I don't know. Swings and roundabouts. Try and pick something, Greg. Pick something and run with it. Washed rind blew my mind because I'd never tasted them before. Like things like Tilsit, Munster. That's another good one. Brick, Limburger. All those sort of smelly cheeses. Oh, amazing flavours. Just amazing. And they just blow my mind still today. How they turn out. I think it's all pretty good. The Red Pill said, the Arabic guy said, greetings to you, Mr. Tiger. Mr. Tiger. Rah. Right. Very cool. Moving right along. Mariana says, for quite a few years now, I've had difficulty if I drink milk and yet always enjoy cheese, so not so lactose intolerant. Funny you should say that, Mariana, that and the reason is there's a scientific reason why people can eat cheese compared to drinking milk if they're slightly lactose intolerant. It's because the lactic bacteria within the milk that you introduce during cheese making converts the lactose, which people are intolerant to, into lactic acid. And therefore, the longer the cheese is aged, the less lactose that's in the cheese, and therefore you won't have a reaction to it. There you go. Steve Mac, and there's something going there. Rocky donated $20. Thank you, Rocky, and that's via the Streamlabs link. So thank you, Rocky. There's your gold star. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, mate. Love your work. Yeah. So where was I? I was up to Steve. I think Steve. Steve, hi, Gavin. You don't state the yield per litre of milk for all of your cheeses. 10 litres equals 11 litres, 8 litres away and 250 grams away. Right, so here's a common rule of thumb. Anybody who makes semi-hard to hard cheeses, your yield will be about, if you're using cow's milk, this is cow's milk only, your yield will be between 10 and 12% of the total. So out of 10 litres of milk, which is about 10 kilograms, a little bit more, you'll get about 1 kilogram of cheese. Okay. If you use less, obviously less. So it's a 10% to 12% yield. For fresh cheeses, it can be up to 15 to 20% yield. Things like the softer cheeses, you'll get a higher yield because they've got more moisture in them. Things like Parmesan, because you're using a lot of low-fat milk, your yield is considerably less. So that's why when I make Parmesan, and you would have seen the last Parmesan video I made quite a few years ago, you'll notice that the yield, you would have gone, heck, where'd all that milk go? I used like 14 litres of milk, and it turned out still to be a kilogram of cheese. So it all depends on how many milk solids are in the cheese. So, yeah, most recipe books you'll see that, like the ones behind me over there, they all state the yield. I don't, because people use different types of milk. They don't, if I make a cheddar, they'll go and make a goat's cheese cheddar. So if I said what the yield is, it'll be totally different because goat's milk has a lot more milk solids in it, and their yield may be up to 20%. Who knows? So that's why I never state the yield, because of that fact. Okay, Mariana says, making cheese and understanding cultures has confirmed in my mind that if the pasteurization it's maybe the pasteurization that makes the milk indigestible. Usually, I don't think so. No, pasteurization just kills the bad bacteria that used to cause things like tuberculosis back in the old days. That's why a lot of people don't get TB anymore, because milk's been pasteurized. Okay, where are we up to? We have got 6 minutes left and so many questions, so I'm not going to get to them all. Rocky says he's going to try PayPal. We saw that. Fantastic. Thanks, mate. Kevin says book 3 should be out should be out soon, as you seem to have forgotten book 2. Oh, you're so funny, Kevin. Thank you, mate. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, look, it seems to not be high on the priority list, unfortunately. I will get to it. I'll get to it. So hell freezes over, the same thing. Anyway, John says last week somebody mentioned the Holland Cantelar cheese, like a high fat content Gouda Havarti or no whole Jarlsberg. Quite delightful. Actually, I think it was Patricia who's online, and she mentioned that it's actually a low fat style, very similar to, I think it's similar to Leyden. So it's a low fat Leyden sort of style. It's got some holes. I saw pictures of it. She showed me stuff from a cheese making shop, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, good. Wilma Charlie says blue cheese is very good for you and has anti-cancer and pro-digestive properties. Take your word for it, Wilma Charlie, but I like it. It's very nice. Rocky says, good night, mate. Love your channel. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Rocky. Lifestyle, do you think you will ever sell cheese harps in your shop in the future? No, I don't, but I've got a bit of a dealio going with Steve Benz over at, what's he called? The Woodwork Junkie. And there's a link. I don't know if it's in... no, it's not in the show notes. But if you go to any other cheese video, all the making ones, there's a link to where you get your curd harp from. And I get 5% of the proceeds to that. So, no, I'm not going to import them over, and you can only buy them in the US from Steve anyway. So that might not help you, Livestock. Patricia is sending me a kissing heart. Oh, okay, that's for the... All right, so thanks, Patricia. Don't tell Kim. That's for the apron, I dare say. Jim says should have been feet. Well, I don't know, the feet. Oh, learn at the feet of the king curd. All right. I'm not a king curd. Come on, fellas. Anyway, Seraj says, this is Iranian. I heart you. Oh, thank you very much. Tarlight says, love watching your videos. Thank you for a good, wholesome, non-dramatic content. Rare these days. Anyway, what is my favourite cheese to eat on a burger? Look, I don't, these days, since I've been a convert from Larry, Mr. Deep South Texas, who's on the channel somewhere, he's in the chat, I don't mind American cheese on my burger. Very melty. Lovely. Says, hello, Iran. Your country should be a superpower. Don't know what that's about. Anyway, Craig says, have you ever seen the Formaggio? What are your thoughts? Automatic cheese maker, add ingredients and weight, does it all itself. Not going to get it. It doesn't do it all itself. They actually, in their Kickstarter, it was a bit of a furphy. They actually got banned from Kickstarter for a while because the description was misleading. Yes, it makes soft cheeses and does your curd and all that sort of stuff. You still got to age the cheese. It doesn't happen automatically. You got to do some stuff too. So I think it's a bit of a gimmick personally. And the batches are so small that they're going to last about 10 minutes. Okay, Patricia just ordered her apron. Well done, Patricia. And it's nearly time to wrap up. One last question from Doran. Says, trying to make my first ricotta salata using your video as a guide. How long should I dry it in the air if it's 30 degrees around here? Also, no cave. Can I age it in my little fridge? You can age it in your fridge, yes. It's dry when it's touch dry. You touch it and it's dry. Then it's ready to age. Okay. Kim's giving me the wind up. So no more questions. Sorry about that. So don't forget to visit the shop, Little Green Workshops. And let me just bring that up on screen number 2 because I can. There we go. There's our shop, littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can go Google search that. I've got all my cheese making stuff there for sale. We ship internationally all over the world, except for the countries that are banned for some reason. Yep, so all the goodies there. We've got cheese making kits, molds, rennets, equipment, lots of equipment, cheese baskets. We've got ingredients. We got some pretty good books, and the merch. There's a link that goes through to Teespring, so that's all very cool. So littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Don't forget that. You can see the merch shelf below. So there's some pretty cool merch. In fact, I bought a whole bunch of it. I'll be doing a little video on displaying. I'll be modeling my merch. I don't know how that's going to go, but it'll be cool. So that's very good. And Kim's just put a where can I get the Curd Harps link there for Chris. So that'll be very cool. And that's about it. So we will see you next Wednesday, everybody. Same time, same channel, and thank you very much for turning up today. Really appreciate it as always. And yeah, so may all your cheeses, all your curds set during the week until I see you on Wednesday. Thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time.